Welcome in, welcome back. I am Gamer in the Wardrobe, where I literally play games and video games in the comfort of my closet. So, you're walking around your local game shop, your local game store, you find it online, you're on Whatnot, and you see this game called Alpha Clash. And you're like, wow, that art is pretty sick, that's pretty cool. And you come across a Clash kit, which looks kind of like this, a Clash kit. So you get two decks in that Clash kit, and how do I play? How do I understand the game? Well, I'm going to break down the Clash kit from set 1, which is Magnate and Moxie, and I'm going to step-by-step you guys through the process of how to play, some of the rules, some of the keywords, and how you achieve victory. Now, in doing that, we're going to start here on this page. We have Magnate, which is your contender. Your contender is your leader, and I'll go over some more details once we get into it. But this is the starter deck from the Clash kit. So if you were to buy a Clash kit and open it, this would be from set 1, the Magnate you would get, as well as all of your Clash grounds, which are like your fields, your Clash cards, which are like your character cards or your cards that you use to battle, your actions, which are like spells and things like that, and then accessories, weapons, traps, things like that. So this is going to be your Magnate set 1, the Clash Kit deck. And then this is going to be your Moxie deck, which, again, if we go back to this, you're going to have Magnate and Moxie for set 1, and they're going to be clashing, right? That's the two that you get. So Contender, Clash Grounds, Clash Cards, accessories, and actions. One thing I will point out in the current sets, a lot of the zero-cost Clash buffs, which is what they're called, have been, eliminated or errated. You can't play them anymore. But for the sake of training and teaching and having you guys enjoy the game, I'm just going to hop right into this, and we are going to have some fun. So I've already taken the liberty of preloading everything. We have Moxie and we have Magnate. So to start any game, depending on how you guys want to play it, you are going to roll dice to see who goes first. So let's roll. This is for Moxie. Moxie rolled an 8. That's pretty good. Magnate rolls a 5. Very cool. Now, traditionally, in most TCGs, you can choose to go second, choose to go first. 9 out of 10 times, maybe even, 19 out of 20 times, you're going to elect to go first, or almost 100%. You want to go first. Every game starts with 8 cards in hand. So before I draw, I'm going to shuffle each deck. And if you want a tutorial on Tabletop Simulator, let me know. I'm playing this on the Tabletop Simulator platform. And I'm going to be playing both sides, so you guys can kind of see some of the philosophies and thought processes. All right, so we've shuffled, and we're going to draw 8 cards for Moxie. And traditionally, you're going to want to work off of a curve, right? You don't want too many of the same cards in hand, and you don't want, just a lot of 1-drops or a lot of 6-drops. So as we kind of go through this, you'll see some of the cards we have. We have 1-drop Sharpshooter Moxie. It's a trap card, which you would play face down in the accessory zone, and it's counterplay. You may activate this trap if the Clash card being played has an initial resource cost of 2 or less. That card is sent straight to oblivion. So this is a very good card early on, but you need to have 1 resource up on your opponent's turn to play it. This is a very good card. You basically a 1-drop, play it, draw a card. So trigger enter, you may draw a card. So I pay 1 to play it out. Once it hits the field, it trigger enters, and I do the ability, which is draw a card. And then in the bottom, you can see 1/1, 1 attack, 1 defense. So this is a 1/1 Clash card, or a 1/1 monster, or a 1/1 creature, whatever you want to call it. This is at the very bottom, you can see weapon and accessory down at the very bottom. So this is something I would play into my accessory zone and then attach to one of my cards. It would cost 3 in the top right to play the card, and then an additional 2 to attach it. So a lot of times you'll play this out for 3, and then the next turn you'll attach it for 2, right? And then you have a field or a Clash ground. This would go in the Clash ground accessory or the Clash ground area, which we'll walk through, and then it has an ability. So just for the sakes of the game, you can mulligan as many as you want. We are going to mulligan, let's just do this. I'm going to mulligan 3. So I'm putting 3 back into my deck, and then I'm going to shuffle, and I'm going to draw 3, and that's going to be my starting hand. All right. Now we're going to go over to Magnate's side. Magnate is a 30 health in the very top right, 30 health contender. He has abilities where it says, see where it says 30, and then there's a symbol. That's the alpha symbol. So alpha clash cards you control get +0/+1. This is a static ability across the game. So the entire time this game is going on, all alpha clash cards I control as Magnate get +1 defense. So +0/+1. And then once I get below 10 health, that second ability kicks in. For Moxie's, hers is Alpha Hunters. That's that symbol, Alpha Hunters, the guy with the helmet and the sword. Alpha Hunter clash cards you control may attach more than one weapon. Most clash cards can only attach one. If you're playing Moxie, your Alpha Hunters can attach more than one weapon. So that's their traditional or first ability that the contenders can do. So for Magnate, we're going to shuffle, draw 8. And just for the purposes of this, let's just get a couple of mulligans. We'll mulligan 1. Actually, it's a pretty good starting hand. So we're just going to mulligan the 1. And I'm kind of putting these in order just for purposes. So we're going to put 1 back into the deck, shuffle, 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 draw 1, and away we go. So we're going to go back over to Moxie here. And since I'm going first, I do not draw a card. After the very first turn, you draw a card. And then the unique thing about this game is your resources come from your hand. So you're playing a card from your hand into your resource zone. So out of this, if I'm looking at this, I'd likely resource one of my accessory weapons. And then I am going to play out a Moxie clash card, which is like a creature or a character. For 1/1 and trigger enter, I get to draw a card. So I will draw 1 card, and I will tap my resource right here because I played a clash card. Now, since this is the very first turn and the very first turn of the first turn, right? My opponent will have a first turn, but that's technically the second turn, I guess. I cannot attack. I cannot do anything. I resource. I play a card. I drew a card off of Moxie's ability, and then I would pass. All right. Now we're going to go back over to Magnate. Now, this is Magnate's first turn, but since it's not the very first turn, I will draw a card. All right. So, early on in the game, it's going to take a little bit to get to some of your higher stuff, so you want to get stuff out, you want to get stuff going. So I am actually going to resource a 3-cost green card, and I am going to play... Sonoro for 1. Now, couple of unique things in this scenario. Sonoro is a 1-cost, 2/1 clash card, but he's actually a 2/2. Why is he a 2/2? He's a 2/2 because Magnate's ability gives all alpha clash cards, which is the symbol in the bottom right. Alpha clash cards get +1 defense. So in the bottom right, since Sonoro is an alpha clash card, he is now a 2/2, 2 attack, 2 defense. So I'm going to play him out for 1, and then I am going to swing at the contender, my opponent's contender. I cannot swing at his Moxie clash card, because his clash card is not engaged, right? Engaged meaning tapped, or he swung with it, or I engaged it. Since it's active, I cannot swing at it. So I'm going to swing as a 2/2, because again, he gets the Magnate ability to gets +1 defense, so he's a 2/2 at the contender. Likely the contender will not obstruct, it will not do anything, so it's just going to take 2 damage, and now he goes down to 28. Now, one thing you'll notice is a contender, they also have stats in the bottom left. Moxie, their contender, is a 1/0. So hypothetically, if this was a 2/1 and I swung in, I would deal 2 damage, but my clash card would also die and be sent to Oblivion, or the graveyard, however you want to phrase it. It's called Oblivion in Alpha Clash. But since I'm getting the buff from Magnate, he's a 2/2, I deal 2. He doesn't obstruct, he doesn't block, he doesn't obstruct, so he takes 2 damage. I'm a fairly aggressive deck. Magnate's a fairly aggressive deck, so I'm also going to swing with my contender at his contender. Now, he can elect to block, but I don't think in that scenario you would, because you want to have alpha hunters on your board and you want to have clash cards ready to be equipped with accessories and weapons if you're Moxie. So Moxie will take 1 from my contender swinging, and I will also take 1 point of damage because I have no defense as my contender. So I'm swinging for 1 and I'm taking 1 from the contender. And that would be the end of Magnate's first turn. All right, let's go back over to Moxie. I'm going to restand my resource and draw 1 card at the start of my turn. This is a very good card. This is also a very good card. Let's see. Oof, these are all pretty good. I think I actually haven't played these starter decks, so I don't really know what I'm looking for here. Just for the purposes of these being banned, I'm going to resource this just so there's no confusion at like the 0 cost in playing it. So I'm just going to resource the Clash buff, because all Clash buffs moving forward are going to at least cost 1 resource for now. So to avoid confusion, Clash buffs are like combat tricks, but since in the newer sets none of them cost 0, I'm going to resource it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to play out a 2-drop Moxie Alpha Hunting Specialist. So if you look in the top right, she's 2 resources to play, and then you see right below the 2 there's 1 black pip. So that means I need to pay 2 resources, and at least 1 of them need to be black. So if she was like a 2 resource, 2 black pip, both resources would need to be black. The good thing about these Clash kits is they're monocolor, so you're not going to have to worry too much about that. But just for something to think about in the future, if you start splashing colors, different things like that, you have to make sure you're resourcing properly to play the cards. Now, Moxie has a trigger enter. You may reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. If you do, you may is the key word here, I don't have to, you may put a Weber or Edwards Clash card with an initial resource cost of 3 or less from among them into the Clash zone engaged. Engaged means tapped or sideways. Then put the remaining cards in your Oblivion. So I am going to do that ability. I'm going to look at the top 3 cards of my deck. Let's go ahead and flip them. And this is a resource cost of 3 or less. So that's a Weber's Binoculars, which is an accessory in the bottom right, not a Clash card. This is a Moxie, but it doesn't look for Moxies. It looks for Weber and Edwards. This is also a 5 resource card, and it needs to be 3 or less. And then this is also a Moxie, and it's an 8 cost. So I completely whiffed, and all of these are going to go in my Oblivion. Woohoo! There we go. Okay, so now I have an Alpha Hunter out, an Alpha Hunter out. This is a 2-2. This is a 3-1. I am going to swing. Just, again, I don't know if I would do this actually in regulation play, but I'm going to swing my 3-1 at his 2-2. He has no resources up and no way of blocking or obstructing, so these 2 are going to trade. All right? And then I'm going to pass, because I don't want my Moxie to die, and I don't want to take damage from swinging with my contender to his contender, so that's going to be the end of my turn, and we are going to go back over to Magnate's turn. Now, at the beginning of my turn, I'm going to restand my resources in my contender, and I will draw 1 card. Okay, so Magnate's pretty fun. He has a lot of cards and a lot of things that do specific abilities and so on and so forth. So, for instance, I'm going to resource the Clash buff, just because we talked about that with Moxie. So this is a basic action, right? So it's not a Clash card. It's an action, like a spell. This is a quick action. This is a Clash card, which is very good. It has Breakthrough and Flight. Breakthrough is like Trample. This attacking Clash card deals excess damage to the contender. Flight is flying. It can only be obstructed by flight cards or cards that have Intercept, which is like Reach. Okay. Magnate's Trap is a trap. So what I will do, just for the purposes of the tutorial, is I'm going to play a trap card face down in my accessory zone. Now, I need to have the proper resources on my opponent's turn to play this. And this says counter attack. So I can only activate this trap when my opponent attacks. Okay? And it reads, send target attacking Clash card with an initial resource cost of 2 or less to Oblivion. Then that card's controller discards 1. Okay, so I have 2 resources up. I'm going to play out the Menacing Magnate. This is the one, the 2/1 flyer with Breakthrough, and he's actually a 2/2 because he gets the buff from the Contender ability, and I'm going to swing at the Contender. I cannot obstruct with this because it does not have Interception or Flight, and even if I did, this would survive as a 2/2 and deal excess damage to Moxie. So Moxie's just going to take 2. I am also going to swing for 1 with my Contender, so he will take 1, and I will also take 1 from the flyer back. And that is going to be Magnate's turn. Let's go back over to Moxie. We're going to restand our resources and draw for our turn. This is very similar to that face-down card on my opponent's side. This is a face-down trap card that is counter-play. So when my opponent plays a clash card, I can activate this trap and send initial resource cost of 2 or less, a clash card of initial resource cost of 2 or less, to Oblivion before it even enters play. All right? So I am going to put this face down. I'm also going to put this one face down. I have 2 traps. And since they haven't been activated, they don't cost me any resources. Sorry. Actually, I messed that up. This is a good tip. In Alpha Clash, you have to resource before you do anything. Before I do anything, I have to resource. If I do not resource, I skip my resource and I cannot go back and do it later in my turn. So before I do anything, I need to resource a card. I'm going to resource Edwards. Okay? I'm going to play 2 face-down trap cards. And because I want to draw, I'm going to play out my Moxie trigger enter draw card for 1 resource. Okay, I'm going to play out another Moxie, go wide, right, for another 1 resource and draw a card. Ooh, okay. And then I'm going to pass, right? I'm going to pass because if I swing with these, they'll die to Magnate. And I'm trying to, and I also have my trap card that I can play when the opponent plays a card. It's counterplay, so I can try and get that off. So I'm going to do that while we kind of wait a little bit and see what my opponent does. So that is the end of Moxie's turn. Let's go back to Magnate. We will restand our resources, restand, draw 1 card, and here we go. That's a very good card. Trigger enter, you may send another clash card you control to Oblivion. If you do, choose 1 alpha card from your Oblivion with an initial resource cost of 2 or less and put it into play. Ready. That card cannot attack. Okay, just to show you. Well, actually, we'll do a couple of things here. Yeah, we're going to do a couple of things here. I am going to resource Destructive Arrival. So I have 3 green resources. Magnate's Plan is a basic action, so I can play it like a spell, and I will send target accessory to Oblivion. So these cards, even though they're face down, are accessories. So I'm going to spend 2 resources, and I'm going to blindly pick one to send to Oblivion. I pick this one on the left, and that goes to Oblivion. Okay? So that is the first thing I'm going to do on my turn after resourcing. And now I have 1 resource up still. And I think I'm going to play Magnate's Gamma Spear. Target Magnate Contender or Clash card Magnate you control gets +1 until end of turn, then you may draw 1 card. So I'm going to play it on my Magnate here. He is now a 3/1, or sorry, a 3/2. That's one thing that's kind of tricky in this. You have to kind of remember what the board state is because it doesn't do it for you. So he is a 2/2 right now because of my Contender ability buffing all Alpha Clash cards +0/+1, 1 defense. I'm giving him a +1 buff with this Alpha Gamma Spear, and then you may draw 1 card. I will also draw 1 card from playing this. Now he is a 3/2 with Flight. I'm going to swing at Moxie for 3. 2/3. She cannot obstruct it, so I am going to deal 3 damage. And I'm also going to swing with my Contender because Magnate's aggressive. And let's just, for the purposes of this, I'm going to walk you through kind of how that would work. I would say I am going to swing Contender to Contender. My opponent would then announce if they want to obstruct. They would either say, I will not obstruct, or I will. just for the purposes of this, I will say Moxie is going to obstruct that attack. Now, if I have clash buffs and resources, I would then, as the attacking person or contender, announce if I want to activate a clash buff. I will say no clash buffs. Then the defending contender would say yes or no clash buffs. Moxie says no clash buffs in this situation, and then the clash takes place. So these two hit each other. Moxie dies because I'm dealing 1 damage, and then I take 1 damage because of my contender having 0 defense. And that is the end of Magnate's turn. Let's go back over to Moxie's side. I didn't get to use my Moxie Sharpshooter, my face down card, because my opponent didn't actually play a clash card that costs 2 or less. So let's see what happens. We're going to draw 1 card. That's a very good card. Don't forget to resource. I'm going to resource a Moxie Sharpshooter here, so now I have 4 resources. So I can get pretty aggressive if I want. He's at 27, so probably not the greatest thing to get aggressive with yet. So I am actually going to play out, you saw this card earlier, the 3-1 Moxie Hunting Specialist, where I reveal the top 3 cards of my deck, and if it's a Weber or Edwards with an initial resource cost of 3 or less, I can put them into the clash zone engaged. So 1, 2, 3, let's see what we get. Okay, so I cannot play this because it's not a clash card, and it's a Moxie Sharpshooter. This is a Weber, and this is a Weber. Weber Expert. Trigger enter. You may attach a weapon in your accessory zone to an Alpha Hunter clash card you control without paying the weapon's attach cost. That would be great, except I don't have a weapon in my accessory zone. That would be this card. I didn't put it in my accessory zone because I had no idea if I was going to draw that card or not. So I'm probably not going to pick this one because the stat line's a 1-1. But this is also a Weber. It's a 2-2. So he is going to come into the clash zone engaged because of the Moxie that I played. And this Moxie cost me 2 to play. So I paid 2 resources to play her, looked at the top 3 cards of my deck, found a Weber, brought the Weber onto the clash zone, and then the other 2 cards went into my oblivion. Okay? One thing you'll probably notice is, hey, why are you swinging so quickly? Alpha Clash does not have summoning sickness. Think of it as every card has haste or rush. You can swing right when you put the card into the field, unless it says otherwise. So every card, imagine, just has haste, which really kind of is unique, because it's like, do I swing, do I not swing? If they have nothing on board and you swing with everything, they could play cards that just completely obliterate your board the next turn. So you kind of want to be careful how you swing and don't swing, because every card has haste. That said, I have 2 resources left. I'm going to pay 1 more resource to play another Captain Maxine Riggins, who's a 2-1. So now we have a 1-1, a 1-1, a 3-1, and a 2-1. This card is a 2-2. It has flight, but since it's engaged, I can actually attack it with these cards, but I need to hit it with at least 2 to kill it. So I'm going to swing, because again, remember, cards have haste. I'm going to swing my Maxine Riggins into the 2-2 Menacing Magnate, because he gets the buff from the contender. I will say I'm swinging Maxine into Magnate Clash card. He would say no obstructs. I will say no buffs. He will say no buffs, so they end up clashing. Mine would die, and his would die. And that's going to be my turn. What you'll notice is I'm leaving 1 resource up here because I have that Sharpshooter. So I'm hoping he plays something that's a 1 or 2 cost, and then I can trap him, right? So I would say turn, and then it would go back over to Magnate. All right. So we are going to restand our cards. Draw for Magnate's turn. That's a pretty good one. I am going to I'm going to resource this guy right here. So now I have 4 resources. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is a 4-cost card. I'm going to play. It's a 4/4 vanilla Magnate Ready to Fight. It costs 2 green minimum, so 4 total. 2 have to be green. And since I cannot play this trap card here, right, for Moxie, because this is not a 2 or a 1 resource card. It costs 4, so that doesn't work on this card. Okay. Now this is actually a 4/5 because of my contender's ability, giving it +1 defense. So This will actually be interesting. I don't know if I would actually do this in a real game, but just for the purposes of the tutorial, I'm going to swing at his Weber with this Magnate. This Magnate is a 4/5. This Weber is a 2/2. Okay, I am going to. I'm going to as Moxie. So I would say Magnate ready to fight, swinging at Weber. Okay, I am going to obstruct. Actually, this is a good question. If I obstruct, does Sergeant Weber's and this do the damage, or is it only the obstructing card that does the damage? I think it would only be the obstructing card. So like if I swung here and obstructed with this, these two would clash, this one wouldn't. So let's actually, for the purposes of the tutorial, I'm going to swing at the Contender, Moxie, as a 4/5. And then Moxie, I don't recommend doing this, but just for the purposes of the tutorial, is going to multi-block, or triple block, or double block, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to block with all three of these cards. So this is a 1/1, a 1/1, and a 3/1. So it's 5 total attack. This card deals 4 to everything that obstructs it, right? So it's 4, 4, 4. It's going to hit this for 4. And the attack is going to be 3 + 1 + 1 for a total of 5. So these 3 are blocking this for 5 damage, and this is a 4/5 hitting those, so this will die, and then these 3 will also die from that exchange. Again, I wouldn't recommend doing that, but it's for the purpose of the tutorial, so there you go. And then Magnate's going to swing Contender to Contender, and Moxie will take 1, and Magnate will take 1, and that will be the end of Magnate's turn. Let's go back over to Moxie. Again, and this is just for purposes of kind of like showing the tutorial. I'm not saying these are the best plays on the planet, but I'm trying to get as much helpful tips and things and ways you can do things in this video as quickly as possible. All right, we're going to draw for turn. We're at 4 resources. We're going to resource this armor, and then Colonel Edwards. 3 cost, trigger enter. You may reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. If you do, you may put a weapon with an initial resource cost of 3 or less from among them into your accessory zone, then put the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. So we're going to play Edwards out of our hand for 3 resources, and then we're going to look at the top 5 cards of our deck. You may put a weapon with an initial resource cost of 3 or less from among them into your accessory zone, and then the remaining at the bottom of your deck in any order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what we got. Okay, that is a big whiff. None of these are weapons or accessories. So these are all going to go on the bottom of my deck. So that was a huge whiff, which is very unfortunate. We're going to swing 2 at Contender. They don't obstruct. We don't buff. They don't buff. He's going to take 2. 1, 2. I'm not going to swing with Edwards because he would die. Sure. We're going to swing Moxie at Contender. No buffs, no buffs. He takes 1. I take 1. And then I still have 2 resources up, and this is that Moxie Sharpshooter, which can trap some of his lower cost cards. So we still have something we can do here, but we're going to go ahead and pass back over to Magnate. All right, restand, draw 1. Okay, we're going to resource this. So we have 5 total resources. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to play Sonoro out for 1. Uh-oh! What just happened? Trigger attack, or trigger trap. Moxie Sharpshooter. Counter play. I played this from my hand. You may activate this trap if a clash card being played is initial resource cost of 2 or less. That card is sent to oblivion instead of entering play. So he just goes straight over here. Moxie's going to pay that 1 resource to do the trap. And that's pretty unfortunate. Now we're here. Yeah, that costs 5. If I control 4 or more Magnates, this card may play from my hand without paying its resource. I don't have 4 more Magnates on the field. I don't have 5 resources. So I'm going to actually play Clash Ground. So Clash Grounds are going to go right here in the Clash Ground section. New York City, Alpha Clash cards get +2, +0, and Flight. Now I want to be very clear, this affects all Alpha Clash cards, not only my Alpha Clash cards. My Contender, Alpha Clash cards you control, so it affects only my cards. This field affects all Alpha Clash cards. So if my opponent was playing Alpha Clash cards, they would also get +2, +0, and Flight. But the big reason I played that now for 3 resources, 1, 2, 3, is trigger enter, you draw 1 card. So I will also draw 1 card. Doesn't quite help me here. So we're going to go Contender to Contender. No buffs. He's not obstructing, so he's going to take 1, and then I'm going to take 1, and I'm going to pass. Now we go back over to Moxie. Okay, so that Moxie Sharpshooter, that trap card we laid down early on in the game, really paid off there, right? We have 5 resources. We're going to restand our stuff and draw a card. I don't. So traditionally, you want to resource every turn if you can. In this scenario, I don't have anything really that. Yeah, it's just unfortunate. This allows me to attach an accessory, a weapon in my accessory zone to an alpha card. I don't have any accessories in my accessory zone. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip my resource, and I'm going to play my own Clash Ground. Now, there can only be 1 Clash Ground active on the field at one time, so when I play this Clash Ground, it actually sends New York City to oblivion. It kicks it off of the game and replaces it with mine. And this says Alpha Hunter Clash cards get +2, +0, and Interception. Interception is reach, meaning it can block or obstruct flying or flight cards. Also, attached costs of weapons you control are reduced by 1 black pip. So if I had like a one attached resource or 1 attached accessory zone weapon, or like this is a good example. So this would cost 1 less black to attach. It's usually 2 black resources to attach. It would cost 1 while this is on the field, and that applies to just me. Attached cost weapons you control are reduced by 1. So the above Alpha Clash cards get +2, +0, and Intercept applies to both Contenders, but the bottom one only applies to me, reducing the attached cost. So what this does, so I pay 3 to play it. 1, 2, 3. And then this gets +2, +0. This gets +2, +0. It does not affect my Contender. It is only Clash cards. So this is now a 3-1, and this is now a 4-2. So I'm going to swing at his Contender for 4. Now, if you remember, there is a face-down trap card over here, but it costs 2 resources to activate, and there's only 1 resource up. So Magnate cannot activate that trap card here. So he is going to take 4 from this, because it's a 2-2 plus another 2 attack from the field card that I have face down. I'm also going to swing with my Moxie, so I take 1 and he takes 1 from that swing. And you know what? I'm just going to swing with my Edwards for another 3. 1, 2, 3. So he's going to take 3 because he's a 1-1 plus 2 additional attack from the field, but he's going to die from that exchange. I'm going to wait to play this card because I really want an accessory to be down before I play it, so I am going to pass. All right, it goes back over to Magnate. We're going to restand our resources, restand our Contender, and draw. Okay, so we got a little bit of brewing. We got some stuff brewing. Okay, we're going to get a little cheeky here. I'm going to skip resource again, okay? I'm going to play out Sonoro for 3, okay? 1, 2, 3. Trigger enter. You may send another Clash card. Actually, sorry, hold on. I take that back. Don't do that. That was bad. I'm going to play out this one, this Magnate for 2. Breakthrough and Flight. He's a 2-2 because he gets the buff from this. His cards would be able to block flying, but none of them are active. So I'm going to swing at his Contender for 2. He's going to take 2 because he has no way to stop me. I'm going to swing at his contender for 1. He takes 1. And I take 1. And now I'm going to play Sonoro for 3. Trigger enter. You may send another Clash card you control to Oblivion. So I'm going to send this Magnate Menacing to Oblivion. If you do, choose 1 Alpha Clash card from your Oblivion with an initial resource cost of 2 or less and put it into play ready. That card cannot attack this turn. So I can't grab the Menacing Magnate I just threw in there, but what I can grab is something else that costs 2 or less. Hey, look, there's already a Menacing Magnate in my Oblivion. So I'm going to pull that back out. It enters play ready, but this card cannot attack because of the ability. But this is a 1-3, so I'm not going to swing with the 1-3. I'm just going to leave it up as a blocker and pass my turn. All right, back over to Moxie. So we got some stuff brewing over here. Hopefully this is starting to make sense. We got our field up and ready, so we're getting a buff from that. We're going to draw a card. Oy, oy, oy. We cannot. So here's one big thing, too. The Clash kits are great for learning and getting into the game, but it is not optimal decks, right? There are better decks that are much more optimized. I'll just say that. So this card would be reduced cost for every weapon I control. I don't control any weapons, so this is a 5/5. One thing you can see, though, is trigger enter. You may send target Alpha Clash card with an initial resource cost of 2 or less to Oblivion. So I'm going to skip resource again. I'm going to play Moxie, my 5-drop Moxie, primed to Clash, and I'm going to send this Magnate to Oblivion. Just trigger enter, send Alpha Clash card with an initial resource cost of 2 or less to Oblivion. So boop, it's gone. See you later. And this is a 5/3 because it's getting the buff from my field. So now we're going to be aggressive here. I am going to swing contender to contender for 1. Magnate's not obstructing with Sonoro. So actually, you know what? He is going to obstruct with Sonoro. So I will take 1. He will not take any. Okay. Now I'm going to swing with Weber at Sonoro. And since Sonoro is a 1/3 because he gets the buff from Magnate, and I am a 4/2 because I get the buff from my Clash Ground, his Sonoro will die. But he prevents 4 damage from hitting his Magnate. And then I'm also going to swing with my Moxie, who is a 5/3 because of the buff from the Clash Ground. And he's going to take 5. So now he's at 8. I have no resources left, so I will pass my turn. Now here's kind of a unique situation. I call this the Death's Door effect. What you'll notice is you have the 30 health ability and then 10 health ability. So at this point, I'm below 10 health. I am at 8 health, which you see in the very bottom right over here, right? I'm at 8. So I still get the 30 health ability, but now I get my Death's Door ability, which is once per turn during your primary phase, you may engage this card, the contender card. If you do, target opponent discards 1 card. Very, very strong. Before I do that, I'm going to draw. Okay, so we drew a Menacing Magnate. I'm going to resource this, just because resourcing is always good, and I know what's in my hand. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to engage my contender. I'm not swinging. I'm not attacking. I am engaging my contender to use that Death's Door ability, and my opponent has to discard a card because of that ability. He only has 1 card left, so he has to discard this card, which definitely sucks for him. Now he has no cards in his hand. And then I'm going to play out Magnate, my 5-cost Magnate, which is Magnate Unwavering Might. Trigger enter, you may draw 1 card. So I'm going to draw 1 card from that. Ooh, that's a big boy. That's a big card. I can't do anything else playing-wise, but I can swing. So I'm going to swing at Moxie for 4. 1. So she will take 4, and then I'm going to pass. Back over to Moxie, who has no cards, but does have bodies on board. Now, it probably would have been better if I didn't swing, because I think I have game just with this. But again, this is just a tutorial video. This is not optimal play. But hopefully you guys are learning something from this, and it's educational. I'm going to skip my resource. I'm not going to resource. I will play out Moxie for one, or sorry, Maxine Riggins for one. And she is actually a 4-1 because of the field buff. So now I have a 4-1, a 5-3, and a 4-2, and he has nothing to block me. He has not really any traps he could play. He does have one resource up, so maybe, but I should have game here, right? So to start this off, I'm going to swing contender to contender. I will take one. He will take one. I'm going to swing as a 4-2 at contender. He will take 4. And then I'm going to swing with Moxie Prime for Clash for 5, a 5-3, and he will take 5. And that is the game. So hopefully this was educational. If you found it helpful, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to do one of these videos for every Clash kit that's come out and every Clash kit that's coming in the future. So if you just picked one up and you want to learn and you want to engage with it, hopefully this video helps you guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys later.